Very good morning to you. It is 7 a.m. on Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025. Welcome to ONNJ Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. We will take your calls, and we mean it. 888-658-0234. 888-658-0234. Any morning clouds will make way for some sun this afternoon for the first full day of fall. Yes, it's fall right now. Only, 90 something more days, and we could talk about winter and whatever comes after that. I think that's it. Winter, and then we all go bye-bye, right? Isn't that how it works? Ah, yes, you could tell I'm not a fall person. Enjoy it. Our director Pam is just overjoyed right now. I could tell by the glee in her voice. We could have scattered thunderstorms this afternoon or late this afternoon, early evening. We head straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta for the first check of the Garden State forecast. Mike, I haven't heard our director Pam this excited since Christmas.
It is an exciting time for those that love fall, right? Of my unofficial weather poll that I've taken since I started in the business, fall seems to be the most popular season. I guess it's just all of the crisp air. I don't know. I guess maybe on that side of the box, Ken doesn't think the same, but you could
I
cast
like
your votes,
spring. Give me
okay?
spring. Spring is my time. I think spring more than summer because of the anticipation. Fall, it's like you know what
Hmm.
comes after that.
You know it comes after that. Yes, I know.
I'll
Well,
just go crawl
we're
in a
we're
hole
you
now.
know we don't exactly have a lot of fall weather upcoming, Ken, because there's temperatures this week that will be warmer than last week. In fact, this morning we start off in the mid and upper 60s across most of the state. 57 is the only cool spot up there in Sussex, and by fall standards, that's not all that chilly, especially when you couple in the humidity to see how mild it is with the temperature anywhere from 14 up to 16 degrees warmer than this time yesterday. That thanks to a kind of muggy southerly breeze pushing in some of that warmer air. Throughout the overnight, had some of those high thin clouds move in, and that'll be the case today. A cloudy start and a pretty wet finish with some rain that moves in. Thanks to the systems that move in from the west and the southwest, you can see the winds pushing in a lot of that muggy air in, with those winds gusting up to about 26 miles per hour later today. Then, as we head into tomorrow, more rain is on tap. So there's a very soggy pattern upcoming beginning this evening, like Ken mentioned, with the thunderstorms. And then some more wet weather on the way for tomorrow and even for Friday. So there's a couple days of showers. You see, this afternoon, as we get the clock started here, there will be some breaks in the clouds, helping us to warm into the upper 80s. And then as we head to dinner time, that's where the clouds thicken up, the rain comes down, and we start to cool things down from the upper 80s down into the mid 70s, with those showers taking over just in time for the evening rush and lasting into the overnight, especially down the shore along the parkway there through LBI and down by Atlantic City. Tomorrow morning, another cloudy, muggy day, less sunshine, I think heavier on the clouds, and there'll be some more showers earlier in the day, this time in the mid afternoon, taking us through early in the morning on Thursday, and some of that wet weather sticks around into Thursday and then again on Friday. But the good news is, I think it all clears out just in time for the weekend, because our final round of rain takes over on Thursday afternoon. You can see all that wet weather exiting just in time to enjoy at least what will look like a pretty decent weekend ahead, even though Friday's still a bit wet on the tail end of the work week. So anticipate some wet weather ahead, especially today and tomorrow and Friday. Not washouts, but there will be some periods of showers each and every day as temperatures hold in the mid 70s, cooling off from the 80s today and tomorrow. Can't wait to tell you about that weekend weather. It looks fantastic. We've got all those details coming up with your weekend forecast, Ken, in a few minutes.
All right, I just took a Xanax, so I think I should be all right for at least the beginning of the show, Mike. I just have a whole bottle of Xanax here. So isn't the rule you keep taking one every couple of minutes till you feel good?
Yes, each commercial break, right?
Let's see
Well,
what
that's
I
my
look
rule
like.
anyway.
Yeah, let's see what I look like by 6:50 or 8:55, whatever. We'll check in then. All right, Mike, we'll check back with you, sir. I appreciate you as always. It is actually a quite beautiful terms of temperature. 62 degrees in northern New Jersey, 61 in Trenton, and it's 62 down the shore, down in Cape May, the southernmost tip of the shoreline of New Jersey. We do have a gridlock alert week in Manhattan this weekend next, actually, as the UN General Assembly is in session. And today, President Trump will also be in town to address the assembly. So please, if there's any day over the 2-week period that you should absolutely take mass transit and do not drive in, try to work from home if you can, talk to the boss, avoid driving into Manhattan today altogether if you can. Take mass transit, work from home, but at least avoid the Upper East Side at all costs. It's going to be an absolute nightmare of traffic. We do have some issues to tell you about. In fact, specifically with the Hudson River crossings, we have about 40 minutes right now into the in through the Lincoln Tunnel. I'm just looking at an update that just happened. All the tubes, it's just volume, but all the tubes are absolutely clogged. And this is in anticipation, I think, of what we have, the gridlock alert. We're looking at the Holland Tunnel is 25 to 30 minutes. And the GWB, let's look at the upper and lower levels of the GWB. Not bad. I think people might be heeding the warning, because usually at this time that is barely moving. So upper and lower level GWB, that's the way to go. But again, listen, once you get into Manhattan, there's not going to be a lot of places to go. What happens on gridlock alert days, they shut down intersections sometimes 15 to 30 minutes at a time, and you can't go back, and you are stuck in place 15 to 30 minutes. I'm telling you, it is an ugly day. 25 years of working in Manhattan at Channel 5 and Channel 7. I'm telling you, this is not what you want to be stuck in. Just take mass transit if you can today. 7:06 is our time. We got a great story for you this morning. There is a New Jersey-based nonprofit that has been helping people across the state for the last 14 years. My heart, it's pounding right now because it's all about pet therapy. They have certified pet therapy teams that they take to hospitals, nursing homes, schools, even courthouses. Keep the judge calm, The organization is called Creature Comfort Pet Therapy, and Mary Beth Cooney and Carly Luciano are here to tell us more about their mission. Good morning, Mary Beth and Carly.
Good morning, Ken.
I want to start off by saying, Carly, do you go by Luciano or Luciano?
Luciano.
Luciano, come italiana. Okay, that's come si pronuncia, così. All right, let's start out with Creature Comfort and pet therapy. What is pet therapy? Mary Beth, why don't you give us a little definition for people who don't know?
Absolutely. And you're exactly right. We started this organization 14 years ago. And what we do is we evaluate and certify loving pets with their private owners to go do pet therapy, which is bringing healing comfort for people in need. So pet therapy is what you feel when you hug a calm, loving animal, and you get that feeling of relaxation. It reduces stress and anxiety. It actually lowers blood pressure. It diminishes pain. It increases socialization. There are so many proven benefits. It's rather amazing. And our animals go out there every day in 9 counties to help people with needs like that. And we've done over 100, we've touched over 150,000 people last year in 9 counties with 7,000 visits.
That's amazing. I love that. And yes, how many times have we seen, even just looking at a pet owner hug their pet, the look on the face, the immediate snuggle comfort. It's like cold weather and a nice warm blanket, only the blanket hugs you back, which you don't get from a blanket. So just so sweet. Carly, Creature Comfort started in Morris County, but now serves 9 New Jersey counties. How did the organization grow like that in just like 14 years? That's huge.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of it is attributed to our volunteers, and we started growing in certain counties, certain areas. As we gained more volunteers, we were able to see more facilities. The facilities are things like the courthouses, the libraries, and the schools. When we had more volunteers in different areas, we were able to expand, because it's not really our problem. Isn't the demands of places that want us to come visit them? It's getting as many volunteers as we can. Because as you know, unfortunately, pets don't have a very long lifespan. So you have to find a pet that is calm and loving and is around for a certain amount of time. So we have to get as many volunteers as possible in those areas.
Yeah,
So
I was going to say I'm a pet guy. I've gone through a number, and it breaks your heart every time, because it's not fair that such creatures that are so full of love and who bless us in every way every day, that they just have such a short lifespan. But that tells you how much more love you should be giving them every single day, because they're only with you a short time. So now you talked about therapy sessions in courthouses, for instance. So how do therapy sessions differ based on locations? Because you visit everything from courthouses to libraries and hospitals. So the courthouse visit, is that to keep people who have to appear on the stand calm because they're nervous about appearing on the stand?
Actually, some of our visits are for the staff. So, courthouses in particular, we're not allowed in the courtroom. So, we can help with people in the waiting room, but we're actually there to de stress the staff. And that happens no matter where we go, even if we're there for patients or residents. So, a lot of the times it depends on the dog's energy, or the cat, or the rabbit, or the guinea pig, or the mini goat, or the mini donkey. It depends on their energy and what they are good at because they need to love their job. And their owners are these wonderful volunteers who know their animals can do this, and they go in to help people by going to the right places for their animal. The animal actually chooses. And so some of the animals love to sit and be read to in a library, and some of them love the energy of children. Some of them would rather be in a quiet place like a nursing home. So we make sure when we certify them, we evaluate them through a test and we give them guidance on where we think their animal would do best. And it really does depend on the comfort of the animal because pet therapy is about temperament. You can't train an animal to be a therapy animal. They can be obedient, but they need to love being petted by strangers. So that's where you have to have the animal love the job, and that's why it takes a bit for us to find volunteers. It needs to be a pet that really loves to do the job.
I'm glad you touched on that. I used to have Pomeranians. I had two little Pomeranians. This boy and girl, you could, kids would come around, neighbors' kids. You could pull their fur. Not that we ever recommend that, but you could pull their fur, yank their ears, put your hand in their mouths. All they'll do is slobber all over you and lick you. They never, it just didn't bother them. In fact, one of them, no, even both, actually, I would say, they loved kids so much that if they saw parents with kids, they got all excited and the kids would come over and there's that mutual energy. So you're right. Some animals just like certain situations better. And as my little girl dog got older, she was just a lap dog at that point. And all she wanted to do was curl up on your lap and fall asleep and people would fall in love. So yeah, it really does differ depending, right? So you have 275 volunteer teams right now. What is the process? If somebody has a, say, dog, cat, or whatever animal, a goat, as you mentioned, who would be perfect for this, what do they do first? Do they pick up the phone and call, or what's the first step?
They actually go on our website and we have an application process because we want to make sure we have all the details in place and we don't miss anything. So you fill out an application, you go to our volunteer page, you fill out an application, and then we basically give you a call and it's an intro call. And we find out what you're interested in, we find out a bit more about your animal, and then from there you're scheduled for an evaluation. And in that evaluation, things are checked, the temperament, the socialization with a volunteer crowd. We want to make sure the animals are okay with men, women, and children. We have medical equipment that we use to guide them to see how they do around a wheelchair and a walker. And we check them that they just love to visit with people. So basically, you just go on the website and put in the application. We have a staff of 6 people who guide you through all of this. And we are highly hands-on. We help everyone. We're a phone call away when you need help with this. And then we schedule all your visits to all of those kinds of facilities. They're on a calendar and you choose where you want to go. And again, you pick the ones that are convenient to you. We're in 9 counties, so picking something located near you is important. And then we basically, again, help guide you. If you have anything that you have any concerns, you just give us a call and we'll go and help.
And your slogan is "Cold Noses, Warming Hearts." That is the cutest slogan ever. Is there like a favorite story that captures that slogan?
Oh goodness, there's so many. um, yeah, so usually when we are going out, we find that it depends again on what animal is in a place. But I love the story about we happen to have a dog who's deaf, and he went into a nursing home and found a woman who was rather unhappy. And they said, you know, he can have a conversation with you. Well, because she was deaf. And so he went over, he knows many signs, and they actually had a conversation. At the end, she signed, "I love you." He licked her hand, wagged his tail, and from then on, she was a cheery woman. And basically, then he went to visit her every week. So that's definitely warming hearts. I mean, that woman went from very uncomfortable to pretty much relaxed and happy where she was.
That sounds like a match made in heaven. That sounds like soulmates, is what that sounds like. Maybe that was
Yeah.
meant to be since the beginning of eternity. Tell us the fundraiser that you're going to be having, the October 25th Go All In Casino Night in Morristown.
Yeah, we are super, super excited for our biggest fundraiser of the year. It is the Go All In Casino Night in Morristown. It's taking place October 25th from 6 to 10 o'clock. Tickets are currently on sale for $150. And with that $150, you get a $50 casino chip that you can start using right away at the event. We have access to our buffet. We have a wine and beer open bar. We have a variety of casino games, such as blackjack, three-card poker, craps, wheel of fortune, roulette. We're going to have a 50-50. We have additional games that you can play throughout the night to win prizes. And we have beautiful raffle prizes that you can win as well. We have some really great prizes, such as a 14-karat gold necklace that has a value of over $2,000. We have tickets to the ballet. We have overnight stays, photography sessions, and a ton more. If you want to purchase tickets, you can go to our website. You can purchase them right online on our website, or you can mail in. All the information's on our website. And if you can't make the event, but you want to support our organization, when you go to our website, there is a ton of available sponsorship opportunities for you. And this is a really great way for you yourself as an individual or the company you work for to align themselves with a wonderful cause. And all proceeds are going to be going to help us provide pet therapy to those in need in Northern New Jersey. So if you're interested, please head over to our website, buy tickets, get a sponsorship, or look at the ways that you can donate.
All right, give the website really fast. We got 10 seconds left. What's your website once again?
It is www.ccpettherapy.org.
CC as in creature comfort, ccpettherapy.org. Love it. Okay, we want to thank you both. Creature Comfort Pet Therapy, Mary Beth Cooney, Carly Luciano. Thank you both for joining us. Thank you for what you do, and give those pets a big hug and a kiss for all of us here at ONNJ Jersey Mornings.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
Ken.
much.
You bet. Have a great day. It is 7:17 right now. We have 60 degrees. Morning clouds will make way for some sun this afternoon for the first full day of fall. The return of clouds and scattered thunderstorms after a little respite of sun in the middle. So we got clouds, some sun and clouds, then clouds and thunderstorms possible by evening. So that's the way the day is going to go. At least the middle part of the day is going to be nice. Highs today, low 80s. Meteorologist Mike Favetta returns with a full Garden State forecast. So we'll take your calls, 888-658-0234. You're watching ONNJ Jersey Mornings. We'll be right back. Welcome back to ONNJ Jersey Mornings for your Tuesday. I'm Ken Rosato at 7:18, 60 degrees right now. Straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta with the Garden State forecast. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Ken. Even though it may be fall, it's not going to feel like fall. We get a few extra days of summer around here. So I guess pleasing everyone when you think that, okay, the calendar may say fall, but in actuality, it'll feel more like what we experienced in August with some pretty mild weather. We look ahead to today, and while the clouds are around right now, it turns a bit drier through the rest of the morning into the early afternoon. The sun returns, helping temperatures warm back into the low 80s at the beaches and even the upper 80s a little further inland. So a warm finish to the day after a little bit of a mild start. There are some spots around with a little bit of a touch of light fog, and you see that there from Toms River and Chip Bottom with visibility right now about 5 miles. As far as today's rain, it's not all that impressive. Maybe get up to a half inch later on tonight into tomorrow morning, and that predominantly is the northern and central parts of the state, with the southern part of New Jersey probably not picking up onto too much rainfall because those thunderstorms come in later on tonight for the northern half of New Jersey. And right now they're off to our west, making their way to the Garden State, eventually tapping into really this moisture down here. over the Carolinas as that works its way north throughout the course of the day. And then we have more wet weather on the way for the rest of the week that comes in stages. This afternoon, as far as the humidity, it'll feel like summer with higher humidity this afternoon into this evening. And tomorrow morning, the dew points or the temperature where the air is saturated, anytime it's in the upper 60s, low 70s, yeah, that's humid, especially for September. And it'll feel quite muggy going into the end of the work week. Friday will be quite humid as well, taking us through the end of the work week. Okay, so Saturday still has some clouds around, but we see those clouds dissipate by the end of the day. There could be a few sprinkles down south, but this whole system pushes out, leading to a beautifully dry Sunday. Sunday is looking amazing with lots of sun, clear weather, and beautiful way to finish out the weekend, even though I think there could be a few clouds that return as soon as Monday. And next week looks to be a bit cloudy at first, taking us through the first part of next week with some varying amounts of clouds through the middle of next week. So a little bit of wet to finish out the rest of the week, but at least we get a dry weekend. That's some good news. So Saturday is looking a bit clear, well, clearing through the day with the best chance of some wet weather down south. But even by Sunday, getting up to 79 and sunny with that dry, refreshing feel, yeah, it'll feel much more pleasant by then after we get rid of a lot of that stubborn shower activity and the humidity that'll be around for the rest of this work weekend. We've got to look at the 7-day forecast coming up for you in just a few minutes.
All right, Mike, thank you so much. It's 7:21. We have 58 degrees and a gridlock alert week and 2 weeks, actually, in Manhattan as the UN General Assembly is in session, and President Trump will be in town today to address the assembly. So avoid driving into Manhattan altogether. Take mass transit or work from home if you can, but at least avoid the Upper East Side. We take a look now at the approach of the Lincoln Tunnel. You'll see the approach of 495 right here. Look at that. It is just a bumper to bumper mess. It will cost you about 40 minutes making your way into the Lincoln Tunnel. This is right after Route 3 merges onto 495. The helix is straight ahead, right to the, when you make it to the right of that screen, you'll curve around into the snail shell shaped helix, and that gets you into the Lincoln Tunnel, but it's just very slow right into Manhattan. You are going to be about 30 minutes at the Holland Tunnel, and we're talking about 30 minutes at the GWB. Let's look at the GWB. Actually, this cam will show you it's not as bad as it usually is, and I think a lot of people are avoiding coming in via the GWB today as a result. Look at that. That's very light. So I think people heeded the advice, and they're staying home and working from home or taking mass transit. It is 7:22 right now. Jimmy Kimmel will be back on the air tonight, but he will not be apologizing for his false claim last week that Charlie Kirk's alleged killer was part of the so-called MAGA gang, as he called it. The $15 million a year ABC late night host negotiated his return to the airwaves directly with the boss, Walt Disney CEO Bob Iger. ABC's biggest station owner, Sinclair Broadcasting, says they're not going to put him on. Sorry, you either apologize or you're off our air. So Sinclair owns 38 stations that broadcast ABC. That covers 40% of the U.S. population. So nearly half of America won't see Jimmy Kimmel when he comes back on the air. So ABC wants to play this game. It's only the big liberal urban cities that are demanding him back, and there ain't that many of them. And a lot of those people do not watch TV. See, it used to be if you weren't on in New York and LA, oh, that was a problem. Today, the urban centers, the liberal urban centers, they just look at their phones. They don't look at TV. They don't watch TV at all. They're arrogant. They're snobbish. I don't even own a TV. If I told you in the last 30, 40 years of me doing television, how many obnoxious, condescending, snooty liberals think they're scoring points by looking down their nose and saying, I don't even watch TV. I don't even own a TV, because they think that makes them sound erudite and intelligent. And instead, it just sounds stupid. That's like telling a butcher, I never eat meat. Does that score a point somehow? I guess they think it will. Well, nonetheless, those stations are going to see news programming in place of Jimmy Kimmel. The next largest owner of ABC affiliates after Sinclair is called Nexstar. They may do the same thing. They own like another 18% of the ABC reach. So we're talking 60 or 70% of the United States potentially will not be able to see Kimmel. Only the 30 or so percent that actually have ABC-owned television stations will see him. This is all since September 15th when he made comments, Kimmel did, about Charlie Kirk's assassination. Now, the left kept saying it was Donald Trump's threats that got Kimmel yanked from the air. So if Donald Trump got Kimmel off the air, did that mean that Donald Trump picked up the phone and got Kimmel put back on the air. No. ABC Disney said Donald Trump had absolutely nothing to do with it. It was an internal decision. They got calls from the other broadcast stations, and they called Kimmel, and Kimmel told them to pound sand. And so Bob Iger, rightfully at the time, I think, said, we're going to make you cool your heels, ass. You got a big mouth. You're a little too big for your britches. You make 15 mil a year and you think you own this network, but you don't. So he gave him a little timeout. I think he should have made it a longer timeout, frankly, but I don't run ABC, thankfully. We'll see what happens when he comes back tonight. But right now, advertisers who are paying to be on the entire country, they're only going to be on in about 30 to 40% of the country. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to Kimmel's contract, which is only another 8 months from now. CNN's Harry Enton has some stern warnings for Democrats. A new September poll shows the Dems are underwater in every single category, including crime and immigration. Listen up.
Who leads on the economy? Republicans by 7. Immigration, Republicans by 13. How about crime, a big issue for Donald Trump and the Republicans? Look at that, lead by 22 points. So the bottom line is this. At this particular point, the ball may be on the ground, but the Democrats have not picked up the ball and running with it. If anything, at this particular point, it's the Republicans who are running with the ball on the top issues, the economy, immigration, and crime.
That's a tough hole to climb out of for the Democrats right now. And those numbers have actually gone up in every category but one since 4 and 8 years ago. And that one category, it still went up, just not by as much. So consider that. Basically, the Democrats are on the wrong side of history for every single major category. And that is CNN. That's not one of those right-wing Fox News polls. That is CNN. So right now, the Republicans are ahead. They have gone up since President. This is only since September. This is this month. This isn't like, oh, that was 2 years ago. No, that's like a week ago. Republicans have actually increased in every category, crime and credibility on the economy and everything. Every category, Republicans have increased their stand over Democrats. Democrats have gone down. So just consider that. Democrats keep doubling down. They insist they know best, but the polls show otherwise significantly. 727 guilty of murder. That was the decision of a jury in Voorhees. The jury found Sean Lichtfuss guilty of the murder of his wife, 38-year-old Stephanie Caraway, in the bedroom of his home back in 2021. The two were married. Police had entered the home to find Caraway after a welfare check was requested for the 53-year-old Lichtfuss. Police found him later that same day at a gas station in town where he was arrested. Investigators say he fatally choked his wife, but wouldn't say why. The trial was held in Camden County. The jury reached its decision after just 45 minutes of deliberating. No word yet on a sentencing date. And Montclair School District is $18 million in the hole. How do you get to be $18 million in the hole for a small school district? That's according to Superintendent Ruth B. Turner. She inherited this. She announced that number at a recent podcast. Turner was named superintendent only in July, so you can't blame Turner for it. And quickly noted that at the time, there was at least an $11 million deficit. Superintendent Turner said that she's already cut conferences and travel for the year and is looking at additional ways to cut those expenses. A state monitor verified the $18 million deficit, and it did not appear there was any fraud. Instead, officials say it looks like gross mismanagement, basically, that the superintendent will now discuss the budget deficit at an upcoming town hall meeting on Friday. And President Trump announced the Food and Drug Administration believes the use of acetaminophen during pregnancy can be associated, not will be, but can be associated with an increased risk of autism, though many medical experts are saying that the medication is perfectly safe, so don't be in panic. Acetaminophen, of course, is the main ingredient in Tylenol and many cold and flu medications. Here was the president yesterday.
Tylenol during pregnancy can be associated with a very increased risk of autism. So taking Tylenol is not good. All right, I'll say it. It's not good.
The president said that there was a link. In fact, he pointed out that many countries where Tylenol isn't even available, like Cuba, have a near zero rate of autism. So that's the way they're looking at it, the analogy. But bottom line is talk to your doctor. And under no circumstances, if you are told do not take an NSAID like aspirin or because they're not all the same. Motrin, aspirin, Advil are different. They're in a different class from Tylenol. Tylenol does not impact blood thinning and bleeding like aspirin and NSAIDs, other NSAIDs. So listen, just talk to your doctor. Don't say, oh, I can't take Tylenol. Now I'll take Motrin or Advil, because there may be certain circumstances where, like when you're pregnant, you shouldn't do that. So talk to your doctor, please, about it before you do anything. 7:30, an Ohio woman ordered Charlie Kirk's favorite Starbucks drink over the weekend in honor of his passing, and was surprised when she got a hateful message scribbled on the side of the cup. That's the woman who ordered the drink. The woman ordered the drink at a place in Ohio. This was a Starbucks location that is inside a Kroger's department store, not a department store, but a grocery store. And she confronted the employee, or rather, she confronted the manager. The manager confronted the employee, and apparently the employee admitted to having scribbled that on the side of the cup. If you can't make that out, I'm trying to see the exact verbiage. It says "racists fave drink." That's on the side of the cup. So it turns out they told the manager about it. The manager confronted the employee, and like a lot of very arrogant liberals, the employee said, yeah, I did it. What are you going to do about it? The manager said, well, you're going to take your crap and get out of here because you're fired. So stop, you sanctimonious ass wipes. I'm sorry I said it, on the left. Keep your friggin' opinions to yourself. Stop trying to impose. There's something so sanctimonious and condescending about people on the left who think that they need to tell everyone that they are wrong. You just clearly did not get good parenting as kids. Grow up, keep it to yourself, smile, do your job. If you're collecting a check, you do what the person giving you the check says. If it's so against your morals, then friggin' quit. But stop trying to impose you love to tell the people on the right they're forcing their morals on you. No, you're the one forcing your lack of morality and your craziness on everybody else. Just keep it to yourself. 7:31, the White House yesterday dismissed a request by Venezuelan dictator. You have to see this video, so stop what you're doing. This is not a joke. I thought I was being punked. You see that? That's the standing army of Venezuela. 300-pound women bearing those are fake rifles, by the way, that don't actually fire. And this is how Venezuela is preparing to defend itself against the evil U.S. imperialist, colonialist military, because they think we're about to invade. See, President Trump is tired of us having all these drugs coming up from Venezuela. So he sent a whole bunch of Navy ships. He sent a naval buildup right near. Trump is brilliant. I'm sorry. We have so many ships. He actually put a bunch of older ships that we don't really need. But they're enough. They can take over the continent of South America, but we don't really need them anywhere else in the world. So he parked them right outside of Venezuela. Basically send a message to Maduro that says, hey, asshole, you continue letting boats full of drugs come to us, and we will show you what we're going to do to your capital. So that's a nice little message that President Trump sent. So now Maduro, fearing that he's going to be overthrown or invaded, that's his army. Yeah, I could see the U.S. military cowering right now in fear because some 350-pound juggle-ass woman with lots of cellulite who can't walk 2 feet without stopping to have some plátano maduro is, she's scary right there. This is, by the way, that's video that the people of Venezuela released. The people of Venezuela released that video. The military thought that would scare us, right? What you're looking at. God help them. God help them. I mean, I feel for those. They don't know any better. I just feel for them. They don't get our television, so they have no idea what they have out in the water right outside. They're just doing what the boss is saying. 7:34. When we come back, Eric, the travel guy Hastings, will join us to talk about how to select the best cruise. Maybe you could take a cruise to Venezuela. You know what's right off the shore of Venezuela, for those who don't realize? Aruba. Aruba's only 30 miles off the shore. So go to Aruba and take a swim to Venezuela for all you liberals who want to go visit them and show them love. Phone lines are open. We'll take your calls at 888-658-0234. You're watching ONNJ Mornings. We're back in 30.
Hi, I'm Jeanette Hoffman, host of Energy Matters. Join me every night at 6 p.m. where we're discussing energy affordability, challenges, and solutions with stakeholders and elected officials. Join me weekdays at 6 p.m. on Energy Matters on ONNJ.
Very good morning to you. It is 61 degrees, the first full day of fall, Tuesday, September 30th, 2025. I'm Ken Rosato. Welcome back to ONNJ Mornings, straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta. It's kind of a mixed bag today.
It is. We have a little bit of a cool, kind of a muggy start, but there's some warmer weather this afternoon, followed by some rain. So you kind of get all the seasons jumbled up into one, especially as we transition from summer to fall. However, a bit more of a summery feel over the next few days, with temperatures climbing into the upper 80s tomorrow and for Thursday. Some clouds around right now. You can just barely make them out working through Ocean and Monmouth County as they work their way east. That will look better when I show you the next time after a little more sunshine. And then even some of these spotty showers that are showing up, it's not really rain. The radar is picking up some bird activity or some biological matter. That's what's happening even down the shore too. Also, lanternflies. Believe it or not, they reflect really well on the radar, and it looks like rain and thunderstorms. And the lanternflies were pretty active over the last few days across most of the state. So down the shore we go with temperatures that climb into the upper 70s at the beaches today, thanks to that wind off of the water. It'll feel even warmer the further west of the parkway you head over toward Egg Harbor City and Hamilton, even back over by Camden. 85 today. Plus the humidity, that does not feel like September. So yeah, it is rather warm. And now with our sunrise and sunset almost the same, we're at about 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of darkness. That it kind of is the definition of a autumnal equinox. And even going into this afternoon, our average high should only be 76. So we are well above that, keeping it warm into the end of this week, even into the weekend. So there are the clouds right now working their way through the southern part of the state. And even as we head into this afternoon, keeping an eye to a couple areas in the tropics. You have one, that's Gabrielle, the next system likely to be named probably later today. It's showing a really good organized pattern. And then there, of course, there's another system behind that in the tropics. So explosive intensification last night. This was just a category 1 yesterday. Hurricane Gabrielle, now a Cat 4, still no threat to land, working its way eastward out into the open Atlantic, and will do so over the next several days. Our forecast here for New Jersey keeps us dry until probably about 3-4 o'clock. Then we get a few rounds of rain later on this evening, but there are additional rounds of wet weather into tomorrow evening, again for Thursday, as one system after the next comes at us throughout the course of the day. So yeah, plan on some wet weather with this front that kind of lingers over New Jersey throughout tomorrow, and next rain system after rain system comes over New Jersey throughout the rest of the week. So it'll be wet until we get to Friday night, Saturday morning time frame. That's where the front starts to push on through and eventually clear us from north to south, ultimately giving us a beautifully dry second half of the weekend. I think northern New Jersey taps into the dry weather first by Saturday afternoon. The rest of the state follows suit later on that night, and then Sunday's looking gorgeous. It'll be sunny, 79, dry, low humidity, a warm finish to the weekend, but dry going into next week. So quite a bit of wet weather until we get there. Again, soaking rains, like enough to bring up our deficit, not likely, but showers each and every day nonetheless, even for tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday at the shore, with those temperatures holding in the upper 70s. Could be worse, could be in the 60s, but we're warm. Saturday and Sunday, keeping it clear. I think by the end of the day, it takes a while for those showers to clear the shore on Saturday afternoon. And then Sunday, looking much drier, 78 degrees. So second half of the weekend is a gem and will feel excellent out at the pumpkin patches, do the hay rides, all the fun fall festivities. Apple picking, too. That's always a fan favorite. I think Sunday's the day to do it.
Yeah, I sent Mike the other day. Mike, you'll laugh, of course, because I sent Mike a picture of a pumpkin patch near me. That's not a pumpkin patch. It's a giant, wide open, like 20-acre farm. And what's in the corner of the farm but a bunch of boxes full of picked pumpkins that they're going to scatter in the field and charge you $500 for. So you can go out and say, I picked a pumpkin. All you did was pick it up off the ground, so it didn't sit there and rot. I'm sorry. I'm a curmudgeon. I'm a curmudgeon. I acknowledge it. All right, Mike, thank you. We'll check back a little bit. It is 61 degrees right now in northern New Jersey, 61 in Trenton, and 60 down the shore at Cape May. This is a gridlock alert week in Manhattan as the UN General Assembly is in session and President Trump is in town today to address the assembly. Avoid driving in altogether if you can. We have this to show you right now, a crash on the New Jersey Turnpike Western Spur. See it on the right side of the screen. This is northbound, north of Interchange 15W, which is 280 in Kearney. The right shoulder is blocked, as you can see. Look off in the right there. You can see American Dream. You see the ski lift in the middle left, and then on the right, you see the Ferris wheel. So that is what you have right now. It's not, I mean, it's just really causing rubbernecking on both sides, but try to avoid it because that's going to cost you another 10 minutes at least going through there. Route 21 delays southbound, exit 9 by Route 3 in Clifton, all lanes open. I mean, that's not far from where the mix with American Dream is. I'm wondering if it's just causing a slowdown in the whole region right now. And your approaches to the GWB, very heavy in the Lincoln, I'm sorry, to the Hudson River. Lincoln and Holland both have 30 to 35 minutes. GWB is actually a better bet. Take a look at that. I mean, it's ridiculous. People are heeding the advice. It is a gridlock alert day. Avoid going into Manhattan by car today. It is 7:41 right now. Cruising always looks like so much fun, a great vacation. For many, it can be. But with dozens of cruise lines and hundreds of destinations, how do you select the best route? Well, Eric the Travel Guy Hastings of ericthetravelguy.com. That's Eric with a K. Also the host of the PBS and YouTube travel series Beyond Your Backyard is here to tell us all about it. Good morning, Eric.
Well, good morning, Ken. How are you?
I'm good, bud. So I did the Google last night. I played with the Google.
Yeah.
And it sounds
Sure.
like something I would get punished for if I were 12. But I played with the Google, and I saw there are at least 51 ocean and 27 river cruise lines in the world, and over 300 commercial cruise ships in operation. And there are over 2,400 ports, although 350 are most used by cruise ships. You like the Google? With all that, how do you possibly select the best cruise for you?
Well, I do think it does come down to what do you want to get out of that cruise. So I think, that should be part of the fun. Part of the fun should be starting with a blank slate. You and I talk about this all the time, Ken, because again, when you're having a lunch with your significant other or your family or whatever, and you're sitting down at dinner, you say, okay, if we could go anywhere in the world on a cruise ship, where would you like to go? And you will hear all kinds of answers. Antarctica, Alaska, the Caribbean, the Mediterranean, Russia, China. So you have all of these. So you got to start to narrow down by asking some questions of who you're going with. What are we looking for? Are we looking for beach? Are we looking for history? Are we looking for culture? Are we looking for culinary? Those are the types of questions to start, because the good news is, as you pointed out by Googling yourself, Ken, and that's, I'm going to leave that alone. In doing so, you will find out that there is a cruise for you, and probably multiple cruises based on what you're trying to get out of that particular vacation.
Yeah, and boy, I mean, just looking at, I think MC, whatever that cruise line is, I want to say it popped up with like 24 amazing looking cruises right away. And I am amazed by how many new ships there are that offer such differences. Some of them, I mean, talk about what some of the ships are offering and why some are a better draw than others. Because like as a curmudgeon who is like pushing 60, I don't necessarily want to go on a cruise and be stuck for a week with 200 screaming kids splashing in the pool. I'm
That's
done
right.
with that.
So look,
talk about
you
that.
remember the good old days when we all had a travel agent, just like we had a banker, a broker, a butcher. We had an account. We had a travel agent. It was one of those people that we had in our circle of friends, perhaps even or business associates, and he or she would make recommendations based on that very statement. I'm 60 years old. I don't want to be on a ship, or what we call a ship, not a boat, but a ship with 200 children. And our travel agent would say, oh, well, then you want to be on this line. So I will tell you that is a cautionary note right off the top, which is all ships, they do the same things. They float on the water, but they're not created equal. And it does matter who else is on board with you. So I would say right away, if you don't have a trusted travel advisor, get one. Ask your friends, ask around and find out who's doing a side hustle, who's an expert in cruising. Now, all travel agents and all travel advisors aren't created equal either, but look around and you'll no doubt you do know somebody who can say, you want to be on this particular line. You want to go on this duration cruise. Remember, the longer the duration the cruise, chances are the older the crowd will be, Ken.
And do not, a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that a travel agent costs you more money. They're not. They're not like hiring a lawyer. Travel agents get their cut from the cruise line, right? They don't get it from you.
And by the way, they get the cut from all the cruise lines. Okay, so it's not like, well, I'm not going to go to Sally Mae because Sally only gives me the Norwegian spiel, or I'm not going to go to Tim because he's only pushing Disney. No, no, they get a commission from all the lines. So what they really want to do, they have a vested interest in making sure you don't call them in the middle of the night going, "What the heck is this? You put me on some boat that I hate." No, no, no. They know it's a matchmaking process. And so they know MSC might be right for you, but maybe a river cruise is right for you. Maybe a Disney cruise is right. Maybe a celebrity cruise. I was just on a celebrity cruise just last week, as a matter of fact, on Reflection. It is a beautiful ship out of Fort Lauderdale.
Is there, I mean, because I think a lot of people look for the bargain. Hey, it's only $300 for 3 days. I mean, maybe if you just want a quick getaway on your own, but you really have to read the fine print, right? And because it says a bargain, do you want to pay that whatever the cost is? Say it's just 300, which there is no 300 anymore. That was when the 1980s when I remember it. But 300 might sound like a bargain, but you are then trapped for 3 days with people you may not want to be with.
I like that is very true, but I like the notion that you're trapped, Ken. Really, you and I have to do some exploring on ships. I know Chris doesn't want to go on a ship anymore, but maybe the four of us or the three of us will go, and you'll find out that yes, you're correct. You could end up in a scenario if you don't ask the right questions. The right questions like, well, what's the average age of your guest? You could call any cruise line and ask them that. They will tell you. They will say, what's the nightlife like? What's the culinary scene like? And remember, there are things on board that's the number one question I get asked about cruising, which is what's included. Well, just try to remember that cruise lines will charge you a base fare, which will include all of your taxes and fees and some of your dining. But then there are other things that you can pay for in addition, like shore excursions or premium dining, which they have on board. So there are some additional costs in there. Wi-Fi is another, drinks for another, if you like the wine or a cocktail here and there, or a beer, or even a Coca-Cola. Those are extra. Remember that.
Interesting. Yeah, remember the days when you bought a cruise, everything, it's all you can eat. They got this buffet there, and you want like mountains of lobster and filet mignon, and you can go there just like you could order it just to throw it on the floor. I will never forget. I believe the term is gavone. I remember hearing a gavone telling my father this when I was a kid.
Yes.
Yeah, we got 3 lobsters, and then I told my kid, take some, put it in your pocket. We'll go back to the room. You can eat lobster for freaking 2 in the morning.
Well, once
That's what I'm
again,
trying
Ken,
to
I mean,
avoid.
this is what we're trying. This is what we're working with here. Again, you're going on a cruise. You're not going on a culinary tour around the world here, for heaven's sakes. You're supposed to be going on a cruise to experience different places from around the world or around the region or wherever it is you're going. The cruise lines do a great job with culinary because, of course, as everyone knows, everyone has to eat.
There you go. Eric the Travel Guy Hastings of ericthetravelguy.com. That's Eric with a K. Also the host of the PBS and YouTube travel series Beyond Your Backyard and your gracious host of the Speakeasy Murder Mystery Dinner Theater in Orlando, Florida. Thank you for joining us. And by the way, check it out. Really, Eric will tell you, I was there and I had a wonderful, wonderful time. So enjoy it.
Very
Eric,
good.
thank you so much. You
Absolutely,
bet.
always good to see you.
Always great to see you, my friend. Appreciate you. It is now 7:49. I'm going to give a heads up to Pam. We're going to forego this break if we can, because we want to talk with a guest who will tell us all about what Mike Favetta, our meteorologist, was just telling us about in terms of hurricanes popping up a lot right now. This is that season. This is the peak season. We're just over the peak, actually. So we'll talk with an expert about that with September's Emergency Preparedness Month. So it's very important you pay attention, and we'll talk about climate change and everything. So be tuned for that. In the meantime, at 7:50, straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta. I know that's a topic that is near and dear to your heart. We go to Mike with the forecast for the Garden State today. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Ken, and we'll see a few more named storms as soon as probably later today, as those systems I mentioned earlier starting to look a little more organized. We'll get to that part of the forecast in just a bit. Northern New Jersey starts off with some cloud cover, breaks of sun throughout the middle of the day, warming into the mid 80s, and then some thunderstorms arrive later on this afternoon. So it gets a bit wet before the day wraps up, probably as soon as 1, 2 o'clock. You could see some storms develop there through Warren and Sussex County, moving their way eastward into Morris County. It's rain we need since our drought continues across most of northern New Jersey, anywhere from 40 to 41% of rain, average rainfall that we've seen in terms of a deficit, and that equates to about 1 to 2 inches of where we should be in terms of rainfall. So here are the large systems. You see these large red blobs here, which indicate where each storm may go. So there's Gabrielle headed out to sea, not a concern. It's the issue of this system here that could form into a tropical system, and then this blob of clouds that may form into another system. And look, they're both headed toward the East Coast. But again, it's a very wide area that shows that anywhere in the next few days, they could be just off our coastline. And because this time of year, we tend to get some steering currents that swing them back out to sea, it's one to watch for early next week. So it's kind of a wait and see sort of thing. That's why there's no cones, there's no official forecast from the Hurricane Center as of yet. Our forecast for the rest of the country brings back very warm weather and stays there going into the next few days. I think the first part of October, too, is rather dry. We'll talk more about that with your 7-day forecast, Ken. That's coming up in just a bit.
Thank you, Mike. And we're going to go straight to Dr. Alonzo Plow, who we have limited time with him. We really got to get him on. Appreciate you, Mike. Dr. Plow is Chief Science Officer and VP of Research, Evaluation, and Learning at the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. Sorry to keep you waiting, Dr. Plow. Thank you for coming in today. Tell us about this most active stretch of hurricane season and climate change and how it's impacting us.
Well, thanks for having me. The global warming, which means increasing the average temperature, is what fuels hurricanes to be more frequent and actually to hold more water. And I think that's the key to understand. It seems abstract when you say that the oceans are 1.7 degrees Fahrenheit hotter, but that in practical terms, it means that a hurricane can hold more water. And when it can hold more water, it's going to have more impact. And if you think about what happened this time last year with Hurricane Helene, it hit on the Gulf Coast, but the flooding was in North Carolina, Asheville, Kentucky. So even if you are away from sort of the center of a hurricane, the flooding impacts can be regionally. And I think certainly New Jerseyans understand from Superstorm Sandy years ago, the real important impact and negative impact hurricanes can have. So it's a season to be aware and to make sure that we're keeping everybody safe during this period.
And Dr. Plow, what should governments be doing we'll start first now for the interim right now. What should they be doing to make sure we're prepared? And then what should we do as individuals to be prepared? Because you can't always count on the government. They don't always do the job they should. So what should we be doing?
Well, one problem, Ken, is at the moment the national government is hiding the information that's really needed. The administration took off of the internet the federal reports around the effects of climate change and health, and have underfunded FEMA. Even as of this last hurricane season, FEMA responses, say to example, places like Maryland, FEMA is just not responding. So right now, it's going to put increased pressure on local government and city and town government to communicate effectively to all of our residents. I think the thing that we need to do on global warming, whether it's hurricane or whether it's the great increase in the relationship between heat and deaths, particularly with vulnerable populations, kids, adults, people with chronic illnesses, locally government can provide information, early warning systems. Even if FEMA isn't going to be able to respond as usual, local responders, fire and police. I was a public health official for many, many years. Local public health departments in combination with fire and police and emergency responders are that first line of defense. Often with the impacts of hurricanes and the necessity to evacuate, neighbors helping neighbors are very important. So again, there are many things that you can do at the local level, even at the neighborhood level, to protect yourself around the impacts of extreme weather.
All right, we have to have you back when we have more time. We appreciate your knowledge, your experience, Dr. Alonzo Plow, Chief Science Officer, Vice President of Research, Evaluation, and Learning of the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. It's great to have you on, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ken.
You bet. There's a lot to talk about there, and Dr. Plow is very experienced as our own meteorologist, Mike Favetta. I mean, the two could talk, I'm sure, for hours about that. And having lived in Florida, the main thing that I can just tell you, just from having been, I dabble in meteorology. I'm not Dr. Plow, and I'm not Mike in terms of my knowledge. Clearly, make that clear. But having lived in Florida for years, full-time for 5 years, part-time for 25 years, 30 years, the main thing is preparedness. If you ever, no matter I could see Dr. Plow's a little against the current administration. That's okay. He's welcome to feel that way. And there are reasons. But I will tell you this, the reason why there's an issue with FEMA right now is because there were liberals at FEMA who, when there was the hurricane that struck the Carolinas, they specifically were going and avoiding people who appeared to be conservative. That's being investigated right now. I didn't want to get into that with Dr. Plow because Dr. Plow we had a time constraint. But there is an investigation right now. A number of people were dismissed at FEMA. They were criticizing their bosses, as in the Trump administration, before there were any cuts to aid. And they attempted to shift disaster responsibility to the states. That happened with Trump. But the key was that FEMA, when you centralize everything with the federal government, it doesn't mean it's better. All of the governors said, and this is where I politely disagree with the doctor, every governor said that during an emergency response, just give me the friggin' money. I know how to manage my state. FEMA, when you have to deal, you're in Alabama, you're relying on Washington to send help. I have been in Florida when you have region blackouts and flattened land, and you're waiting on someone from Washington or somebody from Texas to send over. No, just give us the money, have the resources stationed 100 miles north to come down and help us. That's what you need. And that's what the Trump administration did. People on the left tend to like giant centralized everything. People on the right say, leave it up to the individuals. And therein lies the clash of ideas. That doesn't mean Dr. Plow is wrong or I'm right. I'm just saying we tried it the FEMA way. And what happened? People in the Carolinas for a year and a half under the Biden administration never had a person show up. Look at the train wreck that happened under Mayor Pete in the Midwest, in Palestine, Ohio, whatever. They never got any help. These people literally got no help. Where was FEMA? It was nowhere. And that was under the Biden administration. So the problem is you don't rely on massive federal bureaucracies, but you do need to put the money in the states. Let the state emergency preparedness handle it. And that way it gets taken care of. All right. Having lived in Florida, Florida never relied on FEMA after Hurricane Andrew. They relied on it back then. Democratic governor, I might add, back then. And they relied on FEMA. Guess what? FEMA didn't come. It was like days before. By that point, everyone would have been dead. No water, nothing. Thankfully, Floridians did some preparation. Now, the doctor didn't have enough time. And again, I'm not being disrespectful. I respect this man's knowledge. He has immense knowledge. What I'm saying is, it's hurricane season. When you're at the market this week, pick up a couple of 36 packs of water because it's not going to go bad. It'll last you a couple of years. Pick up a couple of 36 packs. I don't care. There's no room. Put it in the basement. Put it in the closet. Put it in the bathroom. For the next couple of months until the end of November, you have hurricane season. And New Jersey has been hit by hurricanes. We had Superstorm Sandy, but that wasn't a hurricane. Yeah, it caused worse damage than a hurricane with the massive flooding. So just be prepared. Make sure you have extra water. Make sure you have, if you can afford a generator, you could get these lithium battery generators now. But when you get it, store it in a safe place. Don't get a cheap model that might be from China because lithium batteries are tricky. Get a good one and make sure you store it up in a higher part of your garage so it's safe, doesn't get wet, isn't damp, etc. Very important. And you'll be prepared. Have canned foods, but have a can opener. Have foods that are shelf stable. So if you have to go 3, 4, 5 days, you may not have an ability, you won't have electricity, you won't have a microwave. Make sure your gas grill works. That's how you be prepared for this season. You have to rely on yourself. Do not rely ever on FEMA. Having been there and having seen they don't show up, or when they show up, it takes 2, 3, 4 days. If you don't have water and all the essentials, you are SOL. And that's when people die. Very important. 8 o'clock right now. When we come back, a major trade deal has been announced between the U.S. and Europe. We'll tell you what that means for us, and we'll take calls at 888-658-0234. You're watching on New Jersey Mornings. We'll be back in a moment. Good morning. It's 8:01, Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025. Welcome back to On New Jersey Morning. Straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta with the first full day of fall Garden State forecast. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Ken. Got a warmer finish to the day, even with some breaks of sun after the morning clouds, and temperatures warming quickly from the upper 60s, where they sit now, into the low 70s rather soon. In fact, we'll warm up well into the 80s across most of the northern part of the state before those rain showers come through. Temperatures anywhere from 10 to 13 degrees warmer than this time yesterday. And there's a noticeable level of humidity with those dew points running quite higher, the temperature where the air is saturated. That thanks to a southerly breeze pulling in that warm weather. And with that warm breeze today, even off of the water, you'll notice that south wind shaping up to be about 20, 25 miles an hour, helping to fuel some of those storms for later on this evening. Not expected to be severe, but yes, we will tap into a rumble of thunder, maybe some heavy downpours as soon as 3, 4 o'clock in northern New Jersey, and all those showers work their way through, even touching portions of Monmouth and Ocean County throughout the overnight. So a little bit of wet weather tonight, leading to a damp and muggy start to the day tomorrow. Mild still, temperatures in the upper 60s and low 70s. And then another round of wet weather tomorrow with, again, some more showers coming down, mostly in the northern part of the state, even some gentler rains down south. Thursday is another wet day. Might be the wettest of them all, and that will provide the fuel for another warm day Friday. It's actually going to be a bit warmer than usual for the rest of this week. I know the first week of fall should be cooling off. No, instead, we're going to have 80s just about each and every day, with temperatures cooling off into the 70s at night. The last round of rain should finish off on Friday night, and then we tap into some drier weather from north to south coming in on Saturday, leading to a nice dry Sunday. So the weekend looking much better. Just have to make it through quite a bit of wet weather until then, helping the drought. That's some good news. We'll talk more about that and see what's going on in the tropics, Ken. Those details coming up with your weekend weather in a few minutes.
Yes, and we do have a lot of This is, a lot of people forget, it's the fall that we have the peak tropical activity, right? Because the water is warm and you have the clash of fronts, right? Because it's a little cooler inland, but that water is still warm. It's always what, about 2 months, 3 months behind, or maybe 2 months behind what happens in terms of the temperature on land. That water lingers at a certain temperature, and that's when you get that, right?
That is the definition of latent heat. Exactly. Look at you.
You're like, I should be paid for that sound effect. We'll try. All right, Mike, thank you so much. And I would love, we got to have a segment with you and Dr. Plow on, and not me. There was no reason for me. I would love for you and Dr. Plow to geek out on weather, just because it is, people just think, oh, so if there's a hurricane, so what? I'll go to the store and buy stuff. They just don't get it. We have short memories. We forget from Superstorm Sandy. Stores don't have electricity when you have major storms. You have gas stations. They're now supposed to have generators. A lot, I guarantee, have not been maintaining those generators. If you get hit by a major storm, you better be ready yourself with a generator. And now you have lithium generators. You don't need the gas ones anymore. There are ways to be prepared. We should do a whole show on just this. In fact, let's talk
preparedness, storm preparedness. It's true, especially when the food delivery apps aren't working either, because those are the same people that have to go out in the storm. That happens every press conference when there's a big, winter storm. The reporter always asks, "Will food delivery apps be available?" No, you're not supposed to be out on the road. Yeah.
Of course not. Exactly. Please, let's talk to Gerald. We should do a whole special just on that. I think that's essential. We really need to. Thank you. And I know you'd be amazing with it. So thank you so much, Mike. 8:05 is our time right now, and it is a gridlock alert week in Manhattan. The UN General Assembly is in session, and President Trump is in town to address the assembly. Try to avoid driving into Manhattan altogether today. Take mass transit, work from home. Certainly avoid the Upper East Side. Look at what we have now on 287. This is southbound from exit 14, Route 22 to exit 13, Route 28 Bridgewater. All lanes are open, but that is just massive delays that we have to deal with on 287 through there. We have delays also Garden State Parkway southbound from 149 to 147. It's a 2.5 mile delay. We're told it's barely moving. It's just all volume at this hour. Also, pockets of volume on 295 southbound, exit 34 to exit 26S. All lanes open right there, but that's a good 7 mile just bumper to bumper mess. Hudson River crossings, the Lincoln, really ugly right now. It's about 35 minutes across the Lincoln, 30 in the Holland. Fortunately, the GWB, people are heeding. Look at that. You don't see that on a Sunday. And I think people are heeding the advice, and they're taking mass transit or working from home because that is exceptionally light. Let's keep it that way. 8:06 right now, and a major trade deal between the United States and the European Union has made headlines as of last week. The agreement includes a reduction in auto tariffs, a promise of massive European investment in key American industries, and what many are calling a big win for international trade. But what does that mean for Wall Street and for you and me? Well, Gerson Gibbs is the senior managing partner at Bellet Capital and a former financial industry regulator who's worked with huge names like JP Morgan Chase and Wells Fargo. Gerson, we had you on before. It was so great to have you on then, and welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me, Ken. How are you?
You bet. I'm doing great. And this is just so timely that you're on now. So how significant is this trade deal between the EU and the US?
I'm extremely significant. I think that Trump was using this as a negotiating tool, and some countries like the EU, or some nations like the EU, definitely took his offer and made a great deal. I think it's better for Americans. I think it's going to impact the automobile industry in a positive way, and I think it's just going to benefit the relationship between the United States and the EU.
Yeah, for those who missed it, I mean, we had, of course, the Charlie Kirk issue, the assassination, and we had so many other things happening, a lot of moving parts happening. For us in New Jersey, we had the governor's debate. So we were talking about so many other big issues that we kind of like, whoop, only people like you who are in the know about business were paying attention. But this was a big deal. So now we have agreements with a lot of the major trading partners. Really, China is like one of the few that we have to just finalize some of the deals with. But when they started talking about tariffs months ago, what was your opinion then about it? And do you feel that it was a good play, if you will, to try to get everybody to the bargaining table?
From a business perspective, I think it was a great play, although some citizens and people might question it from a presidential standpoint because it was just such shell shock. But from a business standpoint, I think the objective was satisfied. And that means just getting these people to the table, starting discussions, making it clear that you're not okay with how things are running with regard to business between the United States and other nations. So I think overall, it was a absolute good business approach, but some may differ because it was a shell shock to the United States initially.
My brother, because my brother's into business, is a business person. He works for IBM, like you, a major corporate type. And he said what President Trump did is akin to him being the front passenger in a car. And you're just driving along the highway and he has to go to the bathroom. And you just keep driving. He says, I got to go to the bathroom. And he grabs the wheel and does that. That's what President Trump basically is. Am I wrong? Is that a good analogy? When he said that, I said, wow, okay. So he scared the poop out of you, but he got you to move the car and get off the exit. And yeah, I wouldn't do it, but that's apparently what, from the business perspective, what he sort of did, right? Because otherwise, what was the incentive for all the countries to come in? Why would they give up money? There's no incentive otherwise, because Biden was like, live along, get along, whatever. So it was a status quo. And that's not to be critical of Biden. But Trump is sort of a train wreck guy. And that's why so many people hate him, but so many people also love him because they see, wow, okay, it may have worked.
Right. He just knows how to get you to pay attention to what he wants you to pay attention to. That's his approach. That's his business approach. That's who he's been for many, 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 many years. He knows how to get people to pay attention. And I think that sometimes that approach, again, could cause a little shell shock. However, from what we're seeing now, although he's still very early in his presidency, people are coming to the table, and it is working out, and it's not disrupting the markets or disrupting consumers as much as we initially thought. There's still some time that we have to wait to determine how the actual impacts of this thing are going to go. But for now, it seems like nations are coming to the table, making good negotiations with the country, and ultimately, it looks like it's going to benefit us.
So now, speaking of that specifically, what about how this will impact pharma and how this will impact semiconductors and other big industries? What do you think is going to be the case?
Well, in the semiconductor industry, of course, tech is just huge. I think that the EU is a main producer of some of these semiconductors, and the pricing, how much are things going to cost with this whole technology boom? Is there going to be a huge increase in price? And I think because of this negotiation, we can be a little more comfortable in saying that the price isn't going to increase as much as we initially thought. Pharma, of course, EU is the main producer of pharmaceuticals. We're one of the biggest consumers. And again, the pricing of everything, it's going to drop tremendously or stay the same, in my opinion.
Well, and your opinion is a very good one because you've been in the industry a bunch of years. Gerson, what does or what did we learn, if anything, from the pandemic? Pardon me. When we saw that, the supply chain was interrupted, and that's when I think a lot of Americans woke up and said, wait, you're saying we produce no pharmaceuticals in the United States, or relatively no? Did we learn anything, and have we changed anything from then to now?
I think we're still learning. I think that from the pandemic to now, it's a lot of changes that occurred, and just being knowledgeable on what are tariffs, what is import export, who are the clients of the United States and who are the clients of these other nations as far as it relates to the United States, and just a basic understanding. I think that individuals, especially like myself, there were some things that I was aware of, but with this administration and with the media surrounding this administration, I think that there's a lot of education, although it could seem a little tumultuous at times, but education has been just excellent with regard to understanding what's going on as far as imports, exports, tariffs. What do we provide to other nations? What do other nations provide to us? I think it's been very, very educational from the pandemic to now.
Gerson, the Fed finally dropped interest rates a quarter of a basis point, right? 25 basis points, I should say, quarter of a percent, I meant to say. And that's a big deal, right? In fact, in anticipation of that happening, a lot of banks lowered their mortgage rates. I think the mortgage rate, the average rate is 6.13 or something now, which is significant. I laugh because back in the day when I was searching for mortgages, if you couldn't get below 3%, you were getting ripped off. And that was only a few years ago. Now we're talking like 6% is, wow, you got 6%. It's all perspective, right? So where do you see it going? Do you think that mortgage rates are going to continue falling? Do you think the Fed will cut any more? And how do you see that stimulating the economy?
I definitely believe the Fed is going to continue to cut. Of course, the inflation rates are a little higher than we would like it to be, and the Fed uses that as a indicator as to whether to cut rates or not. And there's been conversations between Powell and Trump this entire year about pushing to cut rates because it makes money cheaper to access for just the common folk. And I think that Trump's ultimate objective is to grow businesses, get individuals into new homes, just cut these interest rates and just bring some better business and money flow to America. And I think with regard to the rate cut, it's just the beginning of many.
Oh, let's hope. Keep our fingers crossed. What is the website at Bellet Capital if people want to get in touch with you, Gerson?
Absolutely. My website is www.bellet, BELITE, capital.com.
All right, Gerson Gibbs, Senior Managing Partner at Bellet Capital. Thank you so much. We love when you come on. My famous line, the last time we had you on, you defined what cryptocurrency was in a couple of sentences better than anybody else. You made it clear and fast and to the point. Because so many people we have on, they kind of like tap dance around at this nebulous title. No, you got right to it. And we got calls
I
about it. So I
appreciate that.
appreciate you so much. We love having you on, Gerson. Please come back.
Thank you, Ken. It was a
You
pleasure
bet.
being on.
God bless you. Have a good
Bye-bye.
day. Take care. It is 8:15, and we're going to get some morning clouds making way for some sun this afternoon. It's the first full day of fall for then the return of clouds and scattered thunderstorms by evening. But in the middle of the day is going to be really nice, a little sticky. Highs in the low 80s. Meteorologist Mike Favetta returns with a full Garden State forecast, and we will take your calls. 888-658-0234. You're watching on New Jersey Mornings. Don't go away. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato, 816, taking calls at 888-658-0234, straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta for a kind of mixed bag Garden State forecast on the first full day of fall, but it's going to be a beautiful middle of the day, right?
Middle of the day, yeah, we get lots of sun, and then the rain returns for this afternoon, kind of setting the stage for some wet weather just about every day for the rest of this work week. Some clouds showing up right now on the satellite, but I think more sunshine breaking through, and that's what helps us get to 80 in Point Pleasant today, 83 in Toms River. How about 84 back over toward Freehold, Princeton, and New Brunswick? A nice warm finish to the day, even though visibility right now improving thanks to the sun clearing out some of those clouds. Could be some patchy areas of fog you see there in red. Beyond that, our rainfall totals won't be very impressive today. We could get a quick downpour this afternoon and evening, but even that may only amount to about a half inch of rain at best going into tomorrow morning. More rain on the way for tomorrow afternoon and especially by Thursday as the first batch of wet weather, right now exiting northeastern Pennsylvania, keeps skipping up to the north and east. So we have to wait for some more showers to move in throughout the rest of the day. And there they are, running right down the Appalachians, and they'll work their way eastward over the course of today. This is tomorrow and Thursday's weather kind of coming at us in waves going into tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday. Oh, tomorrow is Wednesday. So Thursday and Friday, it's just a couple days of rain. And even with the dew points running rather high, you see them here, making it feel quite humid. The temperature where they are saturated, when it hits 70, that's almost tropical. So it'll feel quite muggy going into the end of the week before we dry things out for the upcoming weekend. Saturday starts to see the clearing. I still think there'll be some clouds around for Saturday, but we're dry. And then by Sunday, look at that. All of the clear sky takes over. Beautiful weather to get out and enjoy any activities happening this weekend. Lovely weather for especially the second half with the warm sunshine. And then some clouds could return by Monday. These clouds may actually be the result of a tropical system offshore. Just have to wait and see where the storm ultimately forms its eye and how fast it strengthens. That'll determine how many clouds we get by Monday and Tuesday, but no direct threat from any tropical activity as of yet. All their forecasts point to these systems swinging out to sea. For Saturday, extra clouds, maybe a sprinkle early, but clearing generally throughout the day. And then Sunday is a beautiful day with a nice warm finish, 79 degrees. Feeling like an extension of summer going into the first week of fall, Ken.
We will take an extension of summer anytime, sir. Thank you very much, Mike. 60 degrees right now. Pam, our director, is crying. She doesn't want to hear it. She wants fall. She wants like pumpkin latte, everything. All right, Mike, we'll check back with you. Thank you, sir. 60 degrees northern New Jersey, 63 in Trenton, and 60 down the shore, down in Cape May, and 61 in Vineland right now. Some issues we have already. Let's go to the cam for Route 3 if we can, Pam. We have an issue on Route 3 westbound from the Garden State Parkway to 46 in Clifton. All lanes are open, but you can see we have, in terms of delays right now, and I think the sun glare is impacting some people. There are patches of clouds and sun depending on where you are in New Jersey right now. Also delays on 280 eastbound west of exit 12, Garden State Parkway in East Orange to east of exit 13, Orange Street, Newark. All lanes are open, just very heavy. And because this is a gridlock alert week in Manhattan, as the UN General Assembly is in session and President Trump also will be in town today to address the assembly, you should avoid driving into Manhattan altogether. Take mass transit or work from home if you can, but at least avoid the Upper East Side of Manhattan. If you take a look at the approaches to the Hudson River right now, Lincoln and Holland are about 25 to 30. The GWBs was amazingly light, but that's going to change because now we are told there is an upper level eastbound center lane blockage that just occurred. Fortunately, the volume is much lower because people have avoided driving in today. That is a good thing. Avoid it for the next week and a half because it's only going to get worse, certainly through this week. Today, a bad one because the president is in town. Try to take mass transit, work from home if you can. It is now 8:21. The first New Jersey gubernatorial debate took place Sunday night. It was right here on New Jersey. We're now less than 50 days from Election Day, and the big question is, did the debate move the needle? Joining us this morning is Dr. Dan Cassino, who is the executive director of the FDU poll. Good morning to you, Dr. Cassino.
Good morning, Ken. Great to talk with you.
Nice to have you on. So you saw the debate, right? How did the debate change the minds of voters, if?
Well, these debates very rarely directly change the minds of voters. After all, this was on during a Giants game, and even though that Giants game, I think the way that went, I think a lot of people might want to change the channel to something else. The people who pay attention to the debate, who watch the debate in person, are the ones who are most invested in politics already. Those are the people who've already made up their minds. What really winds up mattering is the coverage, what people are talking about after the debate. And we didn't really see any knockout punches in that. I think that Cheryl got in probably the most widely quoted line of the debate afterwards, after Chitterelli was caught saying that he didn't think school segregation was a problem, taking a little bit out of context there, but that certainly is the line that's being shown most afterwards. And Cheryl, I think, didn't do herself any favors when she lambasted Chitterelli for saying that he might raise sales tax, and then declined to say that she wouldn't raise sales tax. So I don't think any knockout punches. I think Chitterelli campaign actually didn't do themselves any favors by really building the narrative for this race up to this point, saying that Cheryl, couldn't think on her feet, didn't have any knowledge of the issues. So they set the bar really low for her, and she cleared a low bar.
Yeah, that definitely clear. If you take a look at how she's performed publicly earlier, prior to that, she did have a lot of hemming and hawing in interviews with Charlemagne the God, with Marsha Kramer at Channel 2. She sort of you'd say, did you not prepare? She was totally caught with some very basic questions. I mean, they asked her, Charlemagne the God, for instance, talked to her about her investments, and she didn't really have much of an answer. And he said, well, according to this, you didn't pay taxes on an investment, or you seem to have insider trading knowledge. And the only thing she could say at the debate the other night was that she didn't invest in any specific stock. Well, okay, there are things called stock funds today, so that was awkward. And then the other was she pointed out that Jack Chitterelli says that she's nowhere to be found when campaigning, but there are a lot of people who've said the same thing about Jack Chitterelli. I mean, I've heard from the camp over and over again, oh, he's everywhere from early morning. Well, you know what? Then he needs to do a better job with media. He's on Fox News every opportunity he can get, but he doesn't do local media. He just avoids it like it's beneath him to do local media. I think he better wake up. If he wants to get local people, those are the ones who vote for him, he's got to wake up and start doing local media.
Well, this is something we've seen from both candidates. I mean, Cheryl has not been doing a lot of local media either. And this is the sort of strategy we've seen pioneered by Tom Kean Jr. over in the 7th Congressional District, where he's basically figured out, like, wait, if I don't say anything to local media, then I don't get in trouble for anything. So I'm just going to not say anything and hope that carries me through. I think, unfortunately, for small d democracy, that has worked for Tom Kean Jr. And we're seeing candidates also, adopting that sort of strategy. And again, that's too bad. Jack Chitterelli actually is very good on the stump. He should be. He's been running for governor for 8 or 9 years now. So he knows what he's doing. He's very good at it. I think the Cheryl campaign has been a little tremulous. They're a little worried about putting their candidate out there. I think she probably is more comfortable with national issues than local issues. But this debate showed she can, when you put her on the spot, yeah, she actually can do those local issues, which I think was probably good for her. The the issue is for Chiarelli, he really needs to do something to change the game. I mean, this is still the Republicans have been catching up, both because of automatic voter registration in New Jersey. But there's still a lot more Democrats, about 800,000 more Democrats than there are Republicans. He has to somehow convince a lot of Democrats and a lot of independents to come out and vote for him in a gubernatorial race. That's not easy, and he's got to convince Democrats that Cheryl is unacceptable for some reason. And it's not enough to just kind of keep on going at neutral. He's got to really do something to change this narrative, and this debate just didn't do that.
Yeah, that's a very valid point. And I'm wondering how much this debate won't be or will be a prep for the next debate, October 8th, if now they'll see what certain points are going to be hit by the candidates. Although this was a different debate. This was a town hall style debate. The one October 8th, I don't believe is, right? That's a more of a standard debate. So the whole
More of a
style
standard,
is going to
yes.
be different. Right. Now, you talked about we talked about a few things. Number one, Jack Ciattarelli, I think, is an extremely affable guy when he's out there talking. Mikey Sherrill's not an off-putting person at all. She could be warm too, but I think Jack Ciattarelli's warmth exceeds hers, and I think he needs to capitalize on that more. Mikey Sherrill also, I think she needs to stop talking about the fact that she was a helicopter pilot 35 years ago. You've been in Congress 5 years. What have you done in the last 5 years? I'm tired of hearing what you did 35 years ago. I'm tired of hearing Jack Ciattarelli when he was, he was an assemblyman 10, 15 years ago. We want to hear what you've done lately. Am I wrong?
Well, the issue is that we're still getting, I say we're 7 weeks before the election. We're still getting bio ads. When I teach campaigns and elections here at Fairleigh Dickinson, this is stage one of your campaign. This should have been done months ago. The problem is that nobody paying attention to politics right now is paying very much attention to New Jersey politics, because people are paying the most attention are paying attention to the tsunami of news that comes out of Washington. And so these candidates are still basically introducing themselves 7 weeks before the election. And what that means is these candidates are basically being treated by both Republicans and Democrats as being generic Republican and generic Democrat. And that, in the end, is probably pretty good for Cheryl, because there's more Democrats than Republicans in the state. But Cheryl really needs to break out of that. He needs to show he's not just some generic Republican, that he's got something out there, that he's got something different. And I think part of that in New Jersey, look, President Trump is not that popular in New Jersey, and he has been sticking by President Trump and everything. He refuses to say anything disagree with President Trump on. That's a problem for him. He needs to show that he is independent of Donald Trump if he wants to basically give permission for Democrats to say, well, I'm going to vote for you rather than vote for the Democratic candidate.
Do you feel that there are still people who are undecided out there right now? I mean, the middle of the road undecided still outnumber Republicans or Democrats in the state of New Jersey. And if so, do you see that they may be breaking one way or the other?
Those middle of the road independents are also not paying a whole heck of a lot of attention to this race because they're independents. They normally don't pay very much attention to the race. And in gubernatorial elections, remember, this is an off year. We're in an odd numbered year. They're not turning out to vote. Turnout in New Jersey elections is always abysmal. I don't think this race is going to be any different. We're going to have very low turnout, and the lowest turnout is among those independents. We love to talk to these independents as being, they're the ones who aren't for one side or the other. Truth of the matter is those independents, by and large, don't pay attention, and they're not going to vote. The independents, as we see right now in our polling, and polling we've seen from Quinnipiac, they are favoring Cheryl, but that's largely because independents are mostly partisans who are lying to us, and there's more Democrats that are lying to us than Republicans that are lying to us.
I love that, Dr. Casino. That's delicious. The independents are Democrats who lie to us or Republicans who lie to us. That's great. And that's fascinating because I know that the pundits love to talk about the independents like they're sent by God, this glorious group sent by God. I love that you just defined it that way. Is there a big or a major issue? What is the major issue for New Jersey this year that each candidate really needs to be pushing?
So really, both candidates are spending all the time talking about affordability. What can you do to bring costs down? And unfortunately, affordability in New Jersey is like the weather. We're all talking about, but nobody can actually do very much about it. They're both talking about energy policy. Well, that's great. We can talk about energy and the need to put up new source of energy. Whatever they do, even the fastest things, natural gas, is going to be 4 or 5 years. We're not going to see it during this term. We can talk about lowering property taxes. Great. 80% of your property taxes go to schools. You want to cut funding for local schools in New Jersey? You're going to be facing pitchforks and torches from Democrats and Republicans. It is about affordability, but we've got to see some new ideas out there on the table because there's just not a whole lot that's going to be going on if we just keep on going with the same solutions we've had in the past.
All right. We got to have you back over and over again. I love the way your brain works and I love how fast your brain thinks. It is wonderful to have you on. Dr. Dan Casino, Executive Director of the FDU poll. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Great talking with you, Ken.
Thank you. It's definitely great talking to you. It is 61 degrees right now at 8:29. The phone lines are open, taking calls at 888-658-0234. Meteorologist Mike Favetta says morning clouds, afternoon sun, then a return of clouds, maybe some scattered thunderstorms by evening. It's the first full day of fall. Highs today, low 80s, so it won't feel like the first full day of fall. We'll have the full Garden State forecast in a moment. You're watching on New Jersey Mornings. We're seen daily at ONNJ.com, Roku, Fire TV, News on Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, YouTube, Facebook, X, streamed live on Substack, Rumble, Twitch, at twitch.tv/on New Jersey. Basically, if you have an internet connection, you could get us. It's 8:30. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Jeanette Hoffman, host of Energy Matters. Join me every night at 6 p.m. where we're discussing energy affordability, challenges, and solutions with stakeholders and elected officials. Join me weekdays at 6 p.m. on Energy Matters on ONNJ.
Very good morning to you. It is Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025. Right now we have 63 degrees in northern New Jersey, 63 in Trenton as well. I'm Ken Rosato. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. Morning clouds will make way for some sun this afternoon. First full day of fall. Then clouds return with scattered thunderstorms later in the day, early evening. Highs today, low 80s. If that's the first full day of fall, I'll take it. Meteorologist Mike Favetta with the detailed Garden State forecast. Good morning, Mike. It's something that's making Pam, our director, cry. She wants
It's the
chili.
noticeable humidity. It's the humidity. Why? The pumpkin spice doesn't taste as sweet when you're kind of sweating, in the sunny and humid weather. It just doesn't make sense. So maybe a few more days. It'll get better, Pam. I promise. It'll get better, especially as we head into October. But we look outside right now and it is sunny, milder with the humidity that's noticeable in the air. That only gets more humid through the next few days. Look at the clearing that's occurring at the coast. A lot of the clouds right now north and west of 287 and the Parkway and the Turnpike. They're moving their way eastward, but I think we'll see more sun to start the day, then varying amounts of clouds by the middle of the day, and then we turn nice and dry into the weekend because it's wet between now and then. Radar not showing much. Any of those spots of green you see isn't any rain. So we start off dry, but with the noticeable warmth in the air that keeps our temperatures in the 70s at the shore today, low 80s inland. It'll feel quite warm through the rest of the day. In fact, with our sun setting now before 7 p.m., sunrise now closer to 7 a.m. Yeah, now those daylight hours are getting shorter with the nighttime hours getting longer. And into the next few days, we'll see quite a bit of wet weather with the cloud cover as well. So you see three big blobs here on the tropical satellite, one going that way out to sea, and these other two marching their way closer to the Caribbean and the U.S. So we're not concerned about Gabrielle anymore. She's on her way out to the Atlantic as that Category 4 storm kind of exploded in intensity in the last day or so, and will work its way out over the open ocean over the next few days. But the other two systems we'll talk about in our next weather update may be giving us some cloud cover by early next week. They're ones to watch, even though there's no immediate threat to land, as they still have several days in open water. Throughout this afternoon, the weather gets going. The rain will be around even into tomorrow, more wet weather. So yeah, there'll be a pair of rainy days even into Thursday. By Thursday evening, you see some thunderstorms come through. Some of that wet weather even lingers into Friday. It's all due to our setup that keeps the next rain shower, one after the next, come through as these systems work along that front, which kind of parks itself over New Jersey right throughout tomorrow and Thursday, even into Friday. Have to wait until Saturday for our weather to finally clear, and this will be the saving grace. Another weather system comes in from the north and west, a front that dries us out and clears out the clouds just in time for a beautiful second half of the weekend. That doesn't mean to say that Saturday isn't nice. I mean, Saturday starts off maybe with an early morning sprinkle, but ultimately transitions dry by the afternoon with more sunshine in northern New Jersey, and then it ultimately clears out. Temperatures cool off into the upper 70s, but still there's a touch of humidity around until Monday. There is a lot of rain, however, on the first half of the 7-day. That keeps us rather wet going throughout the remainder of the work week. So umbrellas is probably a good idea just about every day this week, especially for Thursday and even into Friday. At the shore, the weather clears out by later Saturday afternoon, and then Sunday looks great everywhere. 77 and sunny, lots of clear weather with drier air on the way through Monday, Ken. So you'll probably still hear the air conditioners buzzing even into the first week of fall after what was a pretty warm summer. Well, that summer kind of extends itself into the first few days of autumn.
Indeed. All right. Thank you so much, Mike. So again, I'll take here. This is the compromise between us or me. I can only speak for me, between me and Pam. I like summer. She likes fall. I will take fall in name, Fino, Fino, fall in name only. I'll take fall in name only if it could be 82 degrees with sunshine. How about that? That's a compromise.
That'll work.
She's
That'll
screaming.
work.
She's
But
screaming in
that's
my
what makes
ear.
for the vibrant colors. So your preferred weather, Ken, is what makes all the anthocyanins in the leaves make all the pretty shades of orange and red, and that's what the rest of us love. So it's a
Oh, we're
treat.
talking about endocyanin. Okay, now that's Mike's way of saying shut up, Ken. Move on. All right, sir. I'll go play with my endocyanin here. I appreciate it, bud. We'll be back to you in a little bit. It is 63 degrees in northern New Jersey and in Trenton, 62 degrees down the shore at Cape May, and 61 degrees in Vineland. It is a gridlock alert week this weekend next in Manhattan as the UN General Assembly is in session. And on top of that, President Trump is going to be in town today to address the assembly. So avoid driving into Manhattan altogether like the plague. Take mass transit or work from home if you can, but at least avoid the Upper East Side. We have some issues to tell you about. This is I-80 right now. We have an issue eastbound from west of exit 56. And that goes, that's Squirrelwood Road in West Patterson, all the way to west of exit 57, Route 19 in Patterson. So you're looking at the Route 19 cam. And look at how bumper to bumper it is. Just an absolute mess of traffic, a little fog in the air too, or haze. So just avoid that area if at all possible. We have a delay issue here now on the Garden State Parkway northbound south of 143C, Route 124 in Irvington to 145, I-280 in East Orange. All lanes are open, but that's a solid 2-mile delay. And your major crossings of the Hudson River, it's 25 to 30 at the Lincoln and the Holland right now. Your GWB has been light, although there was an issue in the mid-span a little while ago. It seems it was taken care of. So right now, relatively light. People are heeding the rule not to commute into Manhattan during the gridlock alert days that'll be taking place this week and next. So the GWB is looking like a good option if you must drive in. At 37, Terry Healy is a 40-year survivor of cancer and lives with a permanent facial reminder after undergoing over 30 surgeries. At just 21, he was diagnosed with a rare and life-threatening cancer that clearly impacted him but could not stop him. Today, he's a successful author and speaker, helping others overcome their own challenges. And he's written a book, The Resilience Mindset, which talks about how he rebuilt his life. Terry Healy, good morning to you.
Good morning, Ken. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, Terry. Tell us what happened back when you were 21.
Yeah, I was diagnosed with a very rare form of cancer. I was very fortunate that they got the right diagnosis. It took a while, but we got it. Initially, it was really not that big of a deal. I thought they caught it early, but about 6 months later, when I was a junior at UC Berkeley, this bump reformed behind my right nostril. And ultimately what happened was it resulted in the removal of half of my nose, the shelf of my right eye, the muscle and bone from my right cheek, part of my upper lip, part of my hard palate, and 6 of my teeth. And I woke up attached to my chest because they had transplanted a full thickness skin graft from my chest to fill in this cavity. So I had gone from easy street, living this easy life, to suddenly feeling like I was the Elephant Man.
Oh, they literally, your face was attached to your chest. How long did that last? And how do you survive? How do you live like that?
3 weeks in the hospital. The reason they don't do that procedure anymore, Ken, but back then they did. It was also called a Vicangian flap, but they basically, it's a full thickness skin graft. It needs 3 weeks to create its own blood supply in the donor site. So that's the way they did it back then.
And we forget skin is a living organ. It's a living tissue. We just think of it as a covering, like it's a blanket, but there's blood supply. Those cells are alive. And that's the only way, I guess, at the time they were able to keep it alive. Thank God we have
Yep.
different techniques now, but wow, God bless you. I don't know. I think that would have driven me more insane than anything else. You say that, right? Really? I mean, the thought, because I'm claustrophobic, and just the idea of being confined in
Yeah.
any way drives me nuts. You've said the cancer was a gift in disguise. What did you mean by that?
I learned over time that my adversity was a blessing in so many ways. It took a while. I had to kind of rebuild myself. But what I learned over time was that there's three main things that you get from a major adversity like I had, right? You basically gratitude, empathy, and life perspective. And what I mean by gratitude is when you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, okay, this is what happened to me, but there's so many other things that could have happened. There's so many things I'm grateful for. And one of the great blessings with a huge adversity is that you do find a new purpose and you become more empathetic. And that empathy helped drive my new purpose, which was to help others struggling with challenges in their own life, people that were dealing with similar situations to mine who just couldn't see a way out. So, blessed in many ways. I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but I'll tell you, I wouldn't trade it either.
Well, to have that circumstance presented must be so challenging, but having somebody tell you, no, 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 I made it through where you are. There is another side. That's the only way I think anyone can survive, knowing that there's a light at the end of the tunnel and you
Yeah.
being the coach to help guide them through is just amazing. Now, you've had more than 30 surgeries. How did you stay so strong through that? And what do you mean by the resilience mindset?
Yeah. So, really quickly, to deal with it myself, I built what I call my survival kit, right? It consisted of a number of things, everything from my religious faith that gave me hope. I built a strong team of people around me. I was very focused and goal oriented. That began to set my confidence level in a new direction. I practiced mindful positivity, positive imaging and visualization. All those things help us, I think, find positivity and find confidence in our life going forward. The resilience mindset is really that we all have the capacity to build resilience. We recover from our setbacks and we grow stronger from our experience. And so, what I did over time as I was speaking to different audiences, I kept getting this feedback that, hey, we know your personal story. What you speak about is something you should put in a book, which is a rebar framework, which represents strength. And that framework is designed to help others deal with adversity in their own life. And it's sort of a 4-phase process to help others build resilience and gain confidence back.
So it's a 4-step method, right, to face adversity. And this is how you teach people to be more resilient, right? So can you talk about the 4
Yeah.
steps?
Yeah. So the 4 steps are, it starts with reflect, then it's build, act, and renew. And if I touch on each one of those really quickly, Ken, so
Mhm.
reflect is about finding that 5 to 10 minutes a day to spend time starting with gratitude, being grateful for all the things you do have. When you start there, you actually find yourself in a positive space. And then basically you do an audit of your day. The idea is that you think about, did you learn anything? Were you inspired by anything? And if you were inspired by something, is there something that you can apply to your life tomorrow? You're not going to find an inspiration every single day, but if you're in the practice of it, good things start to come your way and you recognize things that happen because so much is being thrown at us every day. Build is really about the time that you begin to build a positive mindset and a growth mindset. That's when you focus on how you're going to find life balance, how you're going to identify your support system, and how you're going to choose positive because we all have a choice on our attitude. Act is really where the rubber meets the road, right? This is when we start to face our challenges. This is when we take control. And this is when we get focused and set goals. That's execution mode. That's where we start to change our lives. And then finally, renew is really the reinforcement of the entire process. It's the commitment to the process that says, let's step back and figure out what we learned from this process. What did we learn about ourselves? Celebrate your successes. Figure out what you learned about the traits and characteristics that enabled you to get through this ordeal. And when you do that, that helps you start to recognize that you do have a lot of strengths. That helps you rebuild confidence. And the idea there is that we always want to strive to become a better version of ourselves, so that when that next adversity hits, which it inevitably will, we're better prepared to handle it the next time. So that's kind of the 4-step process.
If you could, what would today's Terry Healy tell a 21-year-old Terry Healy?
I would say embrace change and don't fear it. Don't run away from it. Every change that I've ever encountered in my life, professional, personal, has brought me to a richer, better place in my life. So a lot of people, I've worked in large companies and startups, and change is constant, right? And people really fear it. They don't like uncertainty. But I will tell you that maybe things don't go in a straight line like this. They might have little bumps in the road, but I would say over time, change is inevitably going to help you find a new place, a better place, and you'll be grateful for it eventually.
What's a website for people to get the book or get more information?
Yeah, it's terryhealy.com. And you can find everything about my books, my speaking, resources to help other people deal with their own adversities.
Again, the book is called Resilience Mindset. Author, cancer survivor, and thriver, Terry Healy. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story this morning.
Thanks so much for having me this morning, Ken. I appreciate it.
It was our pleasure. Thank you. 8:46 right now. Meteorologist Mike Favetta says morning clouds will make way for some sun this afternoon. It's the first full day of fall. Then we'll have the return of clouds and some scattered thunderstorms by evening, highs in the low 80s. You're watching ONNJ Mornings. We'll be back in a minute. Welcome back to ONNJ Mornings, I should say, for your Tuesday. I'm Ken Rosato. It's 8:48. Straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta with the full Garden State forecast on the first full day of fall. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Ken. Yeah, we start off beautiful with some sunshine, warmer weather. It feels more like summer rather than autumn, especially with highs that climb into the low 80s with an extra dose of humidity and even some thunderstorms later on today. So it feels more and sounds more like a summer forecast, even throughout most of the state, with those temperatures feeling quite warm. The best chance for seeing some thunderstorms is later on this afternoon, once we get beyond 2-3 o'clock. That keeps us, however, in our drought. We're not going to see much of an improvement. Even when the drought update monitor comes out on Thursday morning, we'll probably see a continuation of most of these rainfall deficits, which have been the worst in northern New Jersey, with 1 to 2 inches of a rainfall deficit. A little bit better because there was some more wet weather down south over the last month or so, but need a good tropical soaking in order to get us out of a drought. So speaking of those two systems I showed you before that are working their way westward through the Caribbean, there's one here likely going to be named in the next day or so. This one, entering this red blob, may have a better chance of getting the name Umberto. And by the way, Imelda is the next named storm after that. So probably hear those two names popping up in the weather forecast, at least in the next day or so, as those systems have a good likelihood of being the next named tropical storms. As far as the first week of October, looking a little further down the road, there will likely be some impressive warmth across the Midwest, and that's some of it could kind of work its way into the Northeast. Even in terms of rainfall, maybe see some slightly drier than average weather into the end of September and early October. So again, could really use a good soaking around here. But we get some decent rains at least over the next several days. First today, then again tomorrow, best chance on Thursday as temperatures hold in the mid-70s. I think Friday and Saturday will feature a little bit of a clearing, especially by Saturday afternoon. And then Sunday looks really nice with lots of mild weather. Highs climb into the lower, really upper 70s, but it'll feel like the low 80s with the humidity. Have to wait for Monday for the refreshingly dry air and that less humid, crisp October feel that'll be arriving next week. As far as the remainder of this week, even at the shore, it feels mild. Temperatures in the upper 70s, a mix of clouds and sun with a chance of showers each day, and that wet weather stretches even into Saturday morning. I think the clearing that occurs into Sunday will look very pleasant, and then the nice fall weather arriving about a week from today, going into next Monday, Ken.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, and enjoy your day, your first full day of fall. You meteorologist, you. We always appreciate you.
Me too.
And I will take, like I said, 82 degrees and a first full day of fall any old day. I know Pam, our director, is upset with me for saying it, but we'll have to deal. All right. We'll check back with you like tomorrow. Have a great one, sir.
See you then.
63 degrees now at 8:51, and that's 63 northern New Jersey and Trenton, 62 down in Cape May. 8:51 is our time. And we have a lot of traffic happening right now. We have delays on the New Jersey Turnpike outside exit interchange 9 by Route 18 in East Brunswick. That's all due to volume. There's a gridlock alert day we should tell you about in Manhattan as the UN General Assembly's in session, and President Trump as well will be in town to address the assembly. So try to avoid driving into Manhattan altogether. Take mass transit, work from home if you can, but at least avoid the Upper East Side if you can. Also, other issues we have on 295. There is 295 northbound, north of exit 57, Route 130. Look at that on the right side of your screen. One right lane is closed, and that's causing those delays. You see, it almost looks like the left lane is closed. It's just you have a couple of cars that hit the brake, but it's actually the right lane just toward the top on the right that is closed. So everybody's kind of moving over to the middle and the left to avoid that problem. We also have a crash on Route 18 northbound, north of 27 in New Brunswick with the left lane closed. And your approaches to the Hudson River, Lincoln and Holland are both 25 to 30. GWB has actually not been so bad all morning long. It's just starting to slow down a little bit now. That is because we have a mid-span issue. I told you about it a little earlier. There wasn't a lot of volume, but I think people heard, oh, there's no volume, so let's go over there. So what we have on the Jersey Turnpike right now, not the Jersey Turnpike, I should say the GWB crossing, there is what looks like a stall in the left lane on the lower level when you get across. So you can see what's happening. Everybody's stopped there on the left lane, making your way in. That was perfect all morning until now. Still your better bet or your best bet of the three crossings to make your way into Manhattan today. It is 8:53, and Jimmy Kimmel will be back on air tonight, but he will not apologize for his false claim last week that Charlie Kirk's alleged killer was part of the MAGA gang. The $15 million a year ABC late night host negotiated his return to the airwaves directly with Walt Disney CEO Bob Iger. ABC's biggest station owner, Sinclair Broadcasting, says they will preempt Kimmel. He's not going on their stations. They have 38 of them. That covers 40% of the U.S. population. Instead, they will air news programming in place of Kimmel. And the next largest owner of ABC affiliates, a company called Nexstar, may be contemplating a similar move. So if that's the case, if Nexstar also takes him off the air, ABC could think they're hot shit right now and say, hey, screw you all. We're liberals. We don't give a shit. Excuse my slang. I'm just tired of it. They play this game. They think that they forget they serve the public interest. So if you've now told America, we're going to lie to you and we don't care, which is basically what they did because he lied, pompous ass that he is right there. He's a pompous ass, 15 million a year, and thinks this crap doesn't stink. You're going to have 50 to 60% of the affiliates in America, or the affiliates who cover 50 to 60% of the population of America saying, you know what, screw you, guy. We're not going to put him on the air. So the same guy who's such a liberal, open-minded individual now used to do the Man Show where he showed women's boobs on the air and made fun of them. So yeah, he's such a distinguished, eloquent individual. So ABC, if you want to stick by your guns, he has 8 months left on his contract. I guarantee they're not going to renew him at that point anyway. But they figured, you know what? They started to give in to the right. And by the way, this had nothing to do with President Trump, all you leftists. President Trump, if they listened to President Trump to take him off, did they listen to President Trump to put him back? No. Disney says this was entirely their decision because their affiliates said, you know what? We don't want to put this pompous ass on the air. So he'll go back on the air tonight, but like I said, more than half the country will not see him. New York will see him. New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, because you see him on Channel 7, or if you're in Philly, the Philly, South Jersey area, you'll see him on Channel 6. Those stations are owned by ABC. So yes, they will put him on the air. You go to like Allentown, you go west into Pittsburgh. I don't know who owns those ABC affiliates, but you probably won't see him. So it all depends on where you are, but it's hit and miss. This is all because of September 15th when he made comments about Charlie Kirk's assassination. So it is what it is. You just, the minute you think that the left-wing media is realizing they're waking up and finding the ill of their ways, then you realize, no, they're a bunch of socialists. They're a bunch of liberals. They hate you. They take you for granted. That's why stations like our station exist, because we listen to you. That doesn't mean the right wing is right all the time at all. But the left wing certainly is not right all the time. And they've had a free reign on everything for about 30 to 40 years. 8:56, CNN's Harry Enton had some stern warnings for Democrats. A new September poll shows the Dems are underwater in every single category, including and especially crime and immigration. Take a look.
Who leads on the economy? Republicans by 7. Immigration, Republicans by 13. How about crime, a big issue for Donald Trump and the Republicans? Look at that, lead by 22 points. So the bottom line is this. At this particular point, the ball may be on the ground, but the Democrats have not picked up the ball and running with it. If anything, at this particular point, it's the Republicans who are running with the ball on the top issues, the economy, immigration, and crime.
Courtesy of CNN. Harry Enton and CNN, far from conservatives, and they're letting you know, Democrats, you keep doubling and tripling down on all of your issues, keep going. You're just handing the midterms to the Republicans, because right now they're not just a little behind on those issues. They are majorly behind on those issues. They take the wrong side of everything there. The Republicans like to call them 80-20 or 90-10 issues. Forcing adult males who believe that they are women, aka transgender women. No, trans women are not women. You could say it all you want. I could tell you the sky is green, the sky is green, the sky is green, all I want. That doesn't make the sky green. Okay? So you can say trans women are women all you want, and everyone's going to say, oh, does he pass? Does he look like, he looks a little like a woman. You're not a woman. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to be mean to you, but the reality is trans women are not women. Say it all you want. That doesn't mean you have female parts and can reproduce. Even if you stitch them on, you do not have the ability to reproduce. Not going to happen. So this whole idea of, Democrats kind of doubling, tripling, and quadrupling down and everything, it's to your own demise. And I think you will only learn when you continue losing at the ballot box. And the problem is, at that point, you then get upset like petulant children and burn things down. Republicans lose, we, pack our stuff and we figure out what to do next. Democrats lose, they burn down cities, and then they say it's a mostly peaceful demonstration. Get over yourselves. It is 8:58 right now. Meteorologist Mike Favetta says morning clouds will make way for some sun this afternoon. It's the first full day of fall. The return of clouds and scattered thunderstorms by evening, highs low 80s. And that is ONNJ Mornings for your Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025. I'm Ken Rosato. Remember, you could stream us at ONNJ.com, Roku, Fire TV, News on Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, YouTube, Facebook, X, Substack, Rumble, and Twitch. We'll see you again tomorrow morning starting at 7 a.m. Have a good day.